Chewy, light, fluffy, crispy, with the tomato sauce, nice and bright. That creamy mozzarella and that fresh basil. I can see why this is a classic pizza. Hey guys, Ian here with Intero Restaurant in Austin, Texas, and today I'm going to show you how to make a margherita pizza from start to finish. We're going to get that crispy crust with the light, fluffy, airy interior. Now usually when I do this at the restaurant, we're using a wood-fired oven, but today we're going to get the same results using the made-in pizza steel. Now the first step to any great pizza is a great pizza dough. And today we're going to be using King Arthur 00 flour. All we need for this recipe is olive oil, salt, yeast, and a little bit of water. Okay, and I'm just going to dissolve that yeast. We're going to go in with our salt, a little bit of olive oil. It's going to give a great flavor to this dough. And finally, we're going to go in with that King Arthur flour. Now this is a simple recipe that calls for minimal kneading, so we're just going to go ahead and mix this dough, and once we have all the ingredients combined into a dough, we're going to knead it 100 times. Now when I'm kneading the dough, all I'm doing is lifting one edge and kind of folding it over the other side of the dough. Then I turn it 90 degrees and do it again. It's not going to look as silky and smooth as you might expect, but that's because it needs to rest for about 5 minutes, and we'll really start to see how smooth and elastic that dough is, all right? So once I've transferred it to an oiled bowl, I'm going to go ahead and cover it with a kitchen towel. We're going to let it rest for about 5 minutes and check on it, see how it's doing. We're just going to peek at our dough and look how nice and smooth the surface is. So we're going to cover this dough again, and we're going to let it proof, that is, rise at room temperature for 4 to 12 hours. Now here's some dough that I made a little bit earlier. It's already had a chance to rise, so I'm going to go ahead and portion it into our individual doughs. And we're basically just going to cut this dough into quarters, okay? Now once we have our individual portions made, we are going to fold that pizza dough over itself in thirds like an envelope. And then we're going to do the same thing again, okay? And just gently tuck all these edges together, okay? And I'm just kind of turning as I go. Now once we have our doughs portioned and rolled into balls, we're going to go ahead and let them proof again for about an hour to 2 hours. All right, so as you can see, my dough is rested for about an hour and a half. It's basically doubled in size. Now when I put my doughs aside to rest, I went ahead and turned my oven on to 500 degrees as well. I put the made-in pizza steel in the oven because we want that thing ripping hot when we're ready to cook the pizza. When I'm making a pizza, one of the first things I look at is the crust. I like a nice, fluffy, crispy crust, okay? And I'm just pressing my fingers around to make that really nice, defined edge, okay? And then we are ready to stretch, okay? So I'm just gently stretching the pizza between my hands and kind of turning it as I go. You can see how nice and silky it is, how smooth that dough is, and that's from the 00 flour. And then we are ready to add our toppings. Okay, so we have the sauce that we made earlier. If you want the recipe, check out this link right here. Any store-bought sauce will work as well, okay? So we're just gonna go ahead and add a little bit of that sauce right on top, about 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces of sauce. And then we are going in with a little fresh mozzarella. Same thing with the mozz, less is more. We just want a nice even covering around the pizza. So the last thing we're gonna do before we transfer the pizza to the made-in steel is brush it with just a little bit of olive oil on the crust. That's gonna give us a really nice golden brown crispy crust. So I've had this pizza steel under the broiler for about 5 minutes. Like I said, we want this ripping hot, okay? So we are ready to transfer the pizza straight onto the steel. Give it a good shake to make sure it's sliding freely, and we're just gonna go in and out. Quick slide right onto the steel, and then we go straight back into the oven. So we're gonna set a timer for 2 minutes, and we're gonna check that pizza. We might have to rotate it. We might have to set another timer for another 2 minutes. Is really gonna depend on how hot your oven is, but the last thing we wanna do is open that oven and have a burnt pizza, okay? Oh, we are good to go. Beautiful, crispy crust. Now we're gonna go ahead and let this pizza rest for just a couple minutes. Let that crust continue to crisp up on the bottom, and then we are gonna cut it and eat it. We're gonna finish it with a little fresh basil. I just like to kind of tear that up over the top. We are ready to transfer it to a cutting board and slice it up. You can hear that nice crisp crust. That's exactly what we want to hear. All right, moment of truth. Look at that. Nice crispy slice. Beautiful golden brown on the bottom. Oh yeah. Chewy, light, fluffy, crispy. With the tomato sauce, nice and bright. That creamy mozzarella and that fresh basil. I can see why this is a classic pizza. Thanks for checking out our video. Next time you guys are in Austin, come on by Intero and have some pizza with us.